It's the 3rd of 12, 16. I just repeat, there's a lot of harassment of fast-running cars and, aggressive faces and stuff like that. That's whatever. I think that's pretty likely what Denmark is in the early morning on the roads. Hope they don't drive into disaster, right? Anyway, I think we can ID from the Beumount case, the two missing older girl and boy was possible connected with same street in Ribe, and the person was called PEC or something, and I know his name. And he was often in Italy, Rome. He lived in Italy, Rome, and sometime were traveling to Israel. He was connected to the ring of pedophiles in Ribe, and the ring was, I think, identified by. Sorry. Yeah. Sorry. Right, I have a little bit. Anyway, the person ring of where I grew up was architectures and designers and film people, and that actually connects them to Black Stallion, which is a crew film from Kentucky Gun Race in Italy. And I think the film was, you could call a kind of B film in the way of abuse, right? There were at that time in the 70s. It weren't we In the 70s they had no internet, so they couldn't like kind of post you could say pedophily off dressing off kids film, right? So it is a kind of coverage in a sort of race film, horse something, but it's there's too many cruise scenery in the film, both on the horse and the children stand-ins and so on. Anyway, the identification in that film is exactly this one here. And I noticed also that the people on the crew didn't like this one here because it is an identification, right? Some of the family in Denmark later made a film that's pretty close up on some of the things in that film, right? Racehorses film in United States and Denmark is a little similar building. Then we have architecture designers, which is dangerous people, photograph people. It connects us to maybe a photograph from London and maybe also a video photograph connected to Italian perfume and music videos. There has to be some important abuser photograph from the area of Ribe, because many of the generation further and second generation is pretty good at photograph. Many of them made careers in photographing. And why did they do that when they came from academic environment? That always kept me wondering a little bit. So there must have been somebody with a really intensive feeling for photograph and filming that inspired them, despite he was abusive, right? Then we have maybe an ID on the photograph on the beach in the Beumount case, walking with the back to the camera. He has a camera on his right side. I think I recognize that person as someone living in Ribe in that family. There's another man, older man in tweed, and he is maybe this man's wife's dad, right? But if this tweed guy, this older person, had a, you could say, first generation collection of children from orphan home, Second World War, or maybe kidnapped them, I don't know. And maybe because the age between some of these people married was 17 years something, so he might even be involved in, they might even be friends, the man with the photograph and the tweet guy. They might have been doing it together, and therefore the people they kidnapped wouldn't know anything about it. They could actually have a first generation kidnapping stories and then marry one of them and then make a second kidnapping story. I know for a fact that both these men were violations. They were intimidating people and they were not particularly liked. I noticed that when so-called the man with the photograph, when he died, if he's dead, I'm not sure, but nobody attended really, and I think that if you speak to some of his closest relation that seem to like him, but they don't want to use time on that. They often, in this case, the victims in the pedophilia rings try to forget. And that's, we know there's a pedophilia ring in Ribe, that also in Tønder, in Esbjerg, in Skjern Ringkøbing, in Søllerød, Østerbro, Copenhagen, Fanø, right? And all of those are connected, some, by summer houses, some by a doctor moving, some by administration staff, somebody with police staff, so on. We also know that the pressure from, we also know that the pressure from the Clintons, if you see here, my diplomatic work is top, right? And the Clinton comes in and fuck that up and fuck the payment up and the mails and stuff. Then we have from down on, we have the TV film explore, the design, the pedophilia networking. So actually we have a pressure on both from top administration, politics and government, royals. And then we have from the, you could say, criminal environment, the kidnapping, the sex industry, the media industry, from down, right? So actually I'm moving here, right? Actually I'm moving with the army, but that's another story. But anyway, so actually we think we can idea at least 3 of the persons. There's also somebody called LM, which is the person who has a very finny face with glasses on. He might also be wanted in the United States, also on a phantom drawing. And whether he was you could say a person that lived in Ribe, or he's maybe still not identified, but there is some circle around him where there's an actor, Danish actor, and there's also some people I often see around, which is that circle. And that's a little worrying because I didn't think about this man as a kind of dangerous, alliance. Maybe he was abused, or maybe we haven't found him yet, but at least 2 I'm sure about. I have seen both of these persons very, very similarly, and I also know that they had a kind of power impact on my life and an abusive impact. Whether they were there from, I can't really say. We have some identification of Scotland, United States, Denmark, Germany. We are not sure because they are like international, and it's a little bit like the New York gangsters Gotti, that if he was living in London, you wouldn't probably know where he was really from, But my best advice to parents in Jylland and all Denmark is to, don't think that the pedophilia network don't exist, and don't think that don't. I mean, there's too many actually, and it's in commune, scout, religion, media. It's it is very, very important to follow your child to hobby things and stay there. It's very important to talk with your children about, has anybody been bullying you today, been abusive, psychic abusive, physical abusive? Talk to the children about it. Just ask one fucking simple question. Did somebody hit you today? Did somebody touch you where you didn't like it? Right? Simple every day, because there is a lot of this fucking pedophilia. And we got it in 3 generations. First, second, and third, right? got it in, you could say, a grand old man, like the grandfather's generation. The second generation is the actives today in school, church, lawyers, court system, doctors. And then we got their kids, which is the young bully types, and probably the psychic illnesses, also drug abuse and stuff like that. It's a major network that is connected to each other. Just when I'm on my computer here, right, I can easily get on the deep net too easy, so they are around here for sure.